Hi and welcome to my channel. Watch this clip and then we're gonna talk.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up? I'll go first. I live in Warsaw, Poland now, but I always stay in touch with what's happening in the US, and I happened to hear about that Las Vegas shooting when someone opened fire on a bunch of concert goers. And it was very tragic news, but that day I also went to the movies, so I was already in a kind of weird mental state. And when I left the movies, I got on the tram again in Warsaw and I saw this guy kind of being sketchy and acting weird in the last seat. I kept eyeing him the whole time, and he had his jacket open and he was holding something inside. He was hiding it. And I thought, my first American thought was it's a gun or a knife or some kind of weapon and I need to move away as soon as possible. So I kept looking at him the whole ride, and then he takes it out and it was a beer can. He was sipping it and hiding it during the tram ride. That's what happens in Poland, not guns, not knives. And I started crying and laughing at the same time because that's when I realized, wow, that's messed up.
I've watched this video and I'm encouraging you guys to watch all the stitches. You really need to watch the stitches because they're very interesting. People share their experience and I promise you that some will make you laugh, some will make you emotional. Like, they're just so interesting, and the things that are being shared here are very, very, very interesting. All countries have got their own flaws, but we are talking about America. Americans who have traveled abroad have their own stories to tell as well. I know I've been posting a lot of sad content and it's been so stressful, but let's get away from that with this video. I know this video will make you laugh or put a smile on your face. It will also make you emotional, just full of mixed feelings. Here are the stitches.
Is that America?
I can answer this. So I'm an American and I'm living in Australia, and it's a really safe country. But sometimes when I'm out in public and I don't know, there's tradies doing construction and you hear a loud noise, like a crash or a bang, there's a little bit of fear. Because back home, you don't get to just go outside and not think in the back of your head, like, what if today is going to be the day? Also, the fact that I know what run, hide, fight means, and I learned that when I was in kindergarten, I think that's a good indicator that there's something seriously wrong with the United States.
You up?
So for me, it was a few different times all while I was living in Australia. One time with the various things that we have here in the States, my boss came to me and he was like, "Are you okay? How are you feeling? Do you need some time off?" And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because I heard about the shooting that happened back in the States." I had to sit there and have an honest moment with myself and him to realize that I had built up a numbness to all shootings because they happen all the time. So that sucked. Number 2. I have horrific cramps. I always have. They make me pass out. I throw up. I've been in the emergency room I don't know how many times at this point. It's just how it's been. I fought against it, but I finally had my roommate take me to the emergency room, and my total was $100 when I left. As someone who was only on a working holiday visa and not a $2,000 bill like it would have been in the States.
You up?
I was studying abroad in Germany, and that winter I broke my foot playing soccer. At first, I didn't go to the hospital because I'm so used to a shitty healthcare system, but then I was reminded that I paid $200 for a full year of full coverage health insurance. Fuck yeah. So I went to the hospital and the doctor was x-raying my foot. I asked, "Wie viele ist das X-ray?" Huh? How much is the X-ray? Yeah, I understood you, but where did you get this idea that we would charge for an X-ray? America? Really? How much do they cost over there? Like $700 to $1,400 depending on what you get? Wow, well, here in Germany we don't charge for fucking pictures. My God, das ist verrückt. My knee feels funny too.
America.
So I don't live abroad anymore, but for half of 2018 I lived in Germany and I have so many stories. The town that I lived in had like a main plaza area, and there was a cafe in that plaza, so a couple of my other American friends and I decided to try it out one day, and there was a construction site nearby. We heard a really loud bang, and you know, we kind of assumed that someone had fired a gun, and so we like ducked for cover, and then we were looking around frantically trying to find like a place that we could run to or hide to get out of the situation, and then we realized that no one had shot a gun. No, it was a loud bang from the construction site. That's it. That's all it was. We'd been speaking in English, and we all have really obvious American accents, so all the Germans around us gave us these really sad looks like, oh, these poor, poor Americans.
America really messed you up.
9 months before I moved to Ireland, I was there on a vacation, and the person I was with, we had a car, and we stayed at a golf resort kind of in the middle of nowhere because it was the off season, so it was actually really affordable. There was a gated front entrance to this golf resort, and there was a small little village on the other side of it. And because we were pretty far back on the property and it was January, so the weather was kind of crappy, we often would drive if we needed to run to the store for anything or to a restaurant. We became friends with the front gate attendant because we were in and out all the time. So one day we're driving to go to dinner, and I had asked him, hey, what's the legal limit for like drinking and driving here? I wasn't planning to do anything stupid, but I'm also a public health major, and knowing that Ireland is known for its drinking culture, I was curious, so I thought I'd ask. The guy looked at me completely dumbfounded. He's like, what? So I clarified the amount of alcohol you can have in your system and still legally drive. And he says, none?
I don't live abroad, but I do have a story, which is that a few years ago, my girlfriend and I, at the time, were in Amsterdam celebrating Pride. We were with this group of people from all over, and there's parties everywhere, we're outdoors, there's music playing, when a balloon popped above us somewhere, and all the Americans ducked. Like, hit the cobblestone, myself included. So yeah, happy Pride.
Realize that America really...
I'm an American living in Iceland for the past 4 years, and there's a lot of things that have messed me up, but one thing that gets me every single time is seeing kids. I'm talking like 5-year-olds just out on the street riding his bike all by himself, couple of 8, 9-year-olds at like 9 o'clock walking down the street with their dog doing whatever, making TikToks, who knows. We've got like 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, kids. I'm just kids. They're walking to school all by themselves, walking to school. They're going all over the place by themselves, to the park, to the library, to their friend's house, probably all over, and riding their bikes and everything. And Iceland is one of the safest countries in the world, and I totally get that, but my first instinct is always like, where are these kids' parents? Like, this is unsafe for the kid, he's gonna be kidnapped, and nobody has to worry about kidnapping here in Iceland. It doesn't happen. In the summertime, when kids don't have school, they even have curfews. They have to be back by some whatever time, I don't know what it is, but imagine having a curfew, you're 8 years old.
America.
When I was stationed in Germany, it really opened my eyes to America. Like, did you know that they have free healthcare? They have free education for college. Did you know that their police have to go to a 2.5 year, it's kind of like a basic training, basically teaching them how to detain people without having to kill them. Like, America really is fucked up.
America.
Now, clearly, as you can tell by my accent, I am not from America, but I do have a story. Now, years ago, I used to work for this company, big international company, and they used to have a lot of their international employees come over to the UK to do secondments or secondments, whatever you call it. Now, the employees that naturally used to come over were mainly the Americans. Anyways, long story short, 2 girls came over, they work in my department, clearly American. I got on great with them, they became friends with me and 2 of my other colleagues that we were also friends. So we all got really close and we decided that we're going to show them the town and that we're going to go out and have some drinks. Mind you, I don't drink. And out of all the places we decided to go, we chose a pub in Brixton. So we hit the town, Brixton High Street. It was a vibe. It was great. After we chatted and laughed and had the best night of our lives, we decided to pack it up and go home. Now we're walking to the underground station in Brixton. If you know Brixton, you know where that is. And here comes a police car and an ambulance with flashing lights and sirens. Now obviously because she has photosensitive epilepsy, that shit set it off, and so she had a fucking seizure on the floor in Brixton and we had to call the ambulance for her. Now obviously me and my friend called the ambulance. Ambulance came, we went with her, sat in the hospital with her and everything, and make sure she was okay, because obviously she's here by herself. She doesn't have family members here, you know, to check up on her, and at the end of the day it is the right thing to do. Bro, you see, when my girl came back to her senses and realized where she was, I kid you not, she lost her fucking mind. She went off. She was kicking off like, I can't believe you did this to me. Why would you take me to a hospital? How did I get here? And we told her, obviously we booked an ambulance, and she's like, oh my god, why would you do that? And for the longest time, me and my girlfriend was there looking at each other baffled as hell, like, did you want us to leave you on the pavement to die, bro? But she literally kept going on and on and on and screaming on top of her voice like, I can't believe this, I'm so scared, I don't know what to do, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. She keeps saying I can't afford it, and we were mad confused, like, what can you not afford? My girl proceeded to talk about the fact that they are going to send a bill to her house that she can't afford, and now she is in debt for the rest of her life. Again, me and my friend were sitting there confused as fuck. Come to find out, my girl was talking about getting charged for the treatment that she received from the hospital and the ride in the ambulance to the hospital. Bro, it took us about 25 minutes with a couple nurses and one doctor who clearly wasn't from the ward. He was just walking by to convince this girl that healthcare in the United Kingdom is fucking free. You don't get charged if you take an ambulance to the hospital, and you don't get charged in the hospital. It is completely free. Healthcare is free. Bro, you see when it finally sunk in and my girl understood what we were saying? Sis dead looked like Alice after she fell down the rabbit hole, bruv. It was like a whole new world for her, fam. People are literally scared for their lives if they were to get ill. But anyways, shout out to America.
That America.
So I've been in Canada for about 1.5 years now, and one of the biggest things I notice now is just how spoiled and entitled Americans really are. It'd be the simplest things, like when you get to the crosswalk here and people are walking, people just stop and let them walk across the street. No matter if the light's turning, there's no honking, there's no anger. It's just you let people go. It's the decent thing to do. People say please, thank you, sorry. Like it's a crazy thing that people make fun of Canadians for saying sorry all the time, but they really genuinely say sorry, please, thank you, excuse me, stuff like that. That should be basic shit, but nah, they don't really do that back home. Wildest part is I don't even miss it back home anymore. Like this is just home now.
Actually, I have a couple. So let's start off with whenever I hear a very loud pop, bang, something, I flinch. Because I'm thinking maybe it's a pew pew shot. When I was in the US, I would fall asleep listening to gangs decking it out. And whenever I'm in the US now and I'm walking by myself, every time a car passes by me, I flinch. I know usually pew-pewers go for larger crowds, but there have been cases where they go for solo people, and it's just terrifying. Literally, a car passes, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. Another thing is, whenever I feel like I'm getting sick, I'm like, oh God, I can't afford the hospital bills, and then I remember, I live in Malaysia. Even though I don't necessarily have health insurance, it's still so much cheaper, way cheaper. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can go to the doctor, no problems. And the waiting times are not that bad. Also, when I'm in the States and I'm thinking, ooh, I want something sweet, like I want a dessert, I'm like, no, you shouldn't. You're gonna gain a lot of weight. And whenever I'm in the States, I do. I gain so fast because of how much sugar is in the food. But then when I'm, abroad in Asia, wherever, I'm like, should I get a dessert? I'm like, no, I'm gonna get fat. And I remember, hey, wait, no, they don't put as much sugar in the desserts over there. So I'm able to eat way more sugary things abroad than I am in the United States.
That America really...
So I've been living in Italy for about 11 years now, 12 years. And I moved here to be with my husband. And in the US, I got my tubes tied after my third child and decided I didn't want any more, but he didn't have any, so we decided to do IVF, and I got pregnant with twins. At 13 weeks, I lost one, and once I lost that child, they considered me a high-risk pregnancy and took me off work from that moment on until 3 months after she was born. And I was paid 100% of my check. 100% of my check. And then until she was 1, I got to come home 2 hours a day to breastfeed her. 100% paid.
Now, just from the stitches, we saw and heard different experiences from different people, and they are even more and more in the comment section as well. And I'll get to share a few as we go on. We always have that thing. It might not even be one, but it's something that becomes very normal to you as a person because of where you come from or which country you're from. Now, due to this makes us aware and triggered when we see something that might be similar to what happens in our country or where we come from. You think think, this is what happens when this and that happens in America, and then you act some type of way because you think it happens like that everywhere. This is really fun, like having to share experiences, and in most of them it's about reacting to sounds thinking it's pew pew when actually it's not. Like, we can't even blame people for always having this in mind. Like, there are a lot of pew pew unalivings in America. Once you just hear a loud sound, run for your life and protect yourself, my friend. Issues of having to pay for an expensive trip to the hospital. Oh my God. Now, all these, but let's check out a few comments and hear what people had to say about this in the comment section. Now, I bet there will be more and more interesting experiences, so let's get to the comments. Now, this one says, most people work to live, but Americans live to work. This was after people commented about the US having limited sick leave, and you didn't have to use like your vacation days. And if you have a funeral, you get one grieving day because you should be fine. 24 hours later, you should be fine. Now, this one says, knowing that I don't need to pay for an ambulance or healthcare. A lot of people were even shocked about this one, guys. Now, this one says, after realizing that pew-pews aren't sold in supermarkets, worrying of getting unalived by pew-pews and having to run in zigzag when you heard a loud sound. Now, I bet you really had fun watching the stitches and just listening to how different things are done in different countries as compared to America. Now, the experience that turned out more was the one of not having to pay for an ambulance or Medicare, looking at how expensive this is in America. Now, the other thing was the issue of pew-pews, and you just walking with that in your mind, like, this is really there, whereby when you just hear a loud noise or a loud sound, you are thinking of running zigzag. Now, if you are an American who has traveled abroad, then feel free to also share your experience in the comments. Let's get to hear those experiences that really shocked you. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.